So last week we talked about having you guys do a time exercise, right? Did anybody do that? Yes, sort of. I'm seeing faces like, what are you talking about? If you weren't here last week, you won't know what we're talking about. So those of you that did the time exercise, what did you learn?
That I work better under pressure, which is insane. So when I have like just a short amount of time a day and I have other work to do, then I can accomplish more when I'm under pressure.
Okay. Anybody else have something they learned?
I spend a lot of time picking up after my family.
You know, I know I've talked about it before. I don't know how many of you have heard it. And anyone who can, please turn on your cameras. We understand if you're in a circumstance where you are not able to, if there's like others in your background or something, but please, to be here and cameras on is to show up, okay? Now, if you have a legitimate reason it's not on, I understand. But aside from that, let's turn your camera on, please. Oh, and I love having little visitors.
It's expecting to see you today. I know. I just
nice.
really need to talk to you.
Okay. Thank you, Isaiah. What's her name?
It's my baby boy, Ian.
Ian.
He's got a lot of hair, I know.
Hi, Ian.
Yeah.
So sweet. Oh, he's smiling. Here's his name. Hi, Claudia. Nice. Okay. So, has anybody heard me talk about the 4 Ds? Do it, delegate it, delay it, or dump it. Right? How many times do you guys put something on your to-do list that just goes to the next day, then it goes to the next week, then it goes to the next month and 3 months, and you never really do it? Anybody do that?
Mostly when it involves the DMV.
Usually it's something, it's one of 2 things, right? We either don't want to do it or we really don't need to do it. And so if it's something we don't need to do, we need to either delegate it or dump it. Can someone else do it for us? Or does it really need to be done at all? And sometimes we get so wrapped up in the to-do list. How many of you keep this is not a to-do list, but how many of you keep a to-do list on one of these all the time? Okay. How many of you have a calendar? Okay. How many of you use a paper calendar? Half and half. How many of you use an electronic calendar? Okay. How many of you use both? I do. I use both for a reason. So the electronic calendar, this gives me reminders when they're needed, right? It pops up before I need to do something, so I'm not late. Okay, so if you find yourself always being late, you might want to try that. The other thing this does is if I'm out and about and somebody needs to make an appointment, I can look at it and make an appointment, right? So I'm always keeping it up to date. But at the end of the day, I'm always making sure this matches it. And do you notice the size of my calendar? And do you notice in here, there's more than one? I don't know how to do this in the backwards reverse camera, but you notice that there's more than one item. What I need to do is the first thing, that's the appointment. And then I put things underneath that are the to-do list. How many hours are in a day? How many waking hours are in a day, right? If it doesn't fit in here, you can't do it. So I use this as my to-do list, and I make sure that I'm doing it within the designated time. Now, sometimes we get a little overwhelmed. We have a lot to do. And I do this periodically. I make a list of all the things I need to do so that I can clear my head and, oh goodness, I've been talking about this. I made this note, got to do all this. So I organize it in one list. And then I take this list and it goes here. And then this list goes in the trash. Because when I work off here, I'm far more productive. Now, doesn't mean you have to do it exactly the way I do it. Do what works for you. But that's why I have a calendar that has 15-minute increments. Because only so much can be done in the time that we have allotted, right? Okay, so a few of you have come on while we've been talking. Is there anyone else who did the exercise from last week before we get into our quantum leap discussion? Did anyone else do the exercise from last week and learn something from it, your time exercise? Who's willing to share what they learned from it? Because I know there were more of you on here. Or maybe we didn't do it. Okay, so let's move on. I told you this week we were going to talk about, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be reviewing some key points about quantum leap. And also, so for the next few weeks, we're going to be reviewing key points not only from quantum leap, but also from the profit camp that I took a couple days later. They go together so well. And so no matter where you're at in your business, whether you've just started or whether you've been around a while, there's some really key pieces of discussion that we should be having, because all of you are running a business, right? And you need to treat your real estate career as a business. And in Profit Camp, one of the things they gave us a statistic, and the statistic was pretty much when we all start real estate, we have started a small business, right? Now, it doesn't mean it's going to stay small. It could be a huge business down the line. But in the beginning, we all have a small business. 8 out of 10 small businesses fail. Now, I'm not saying that to scare you. It's the statistical truth. They fail because of poor planning. That's why, that's why calendar discussions are so important, right? Also, and it's way more than calendars, it's lots of other planning. 50% fail in their first 5 years. And there's one main reason. And does anybody know what that would be?
Would it have something to do with like,
Oh.
oh, go ahead.
I think not being consistent, like with your things to do.
Well, that will play into it, but there's a bigger reason. Isaiah, what were you going to say?
My guess would be like basically for us not having clients, for the lead generation, not generating enough leads.
Okay, so that plays into it for sure. But the biggest reason that a small business fails in 5 years is because they are not focused on profit. They're focused simply on production. Now, does that mean that you don't need production? No, of course not. We have to have production. That's where our profits are going to come from. But when we're so focused on how many transactions we're doing and all that kind of stuff, and we're not focused at all on the profit, then likely we're not spending money correctly. We're not putting away money that needs to be put away for taxes. We may be making decisions that hinder our profit. Maybe we go to a training and they want to sell us this shiny new thing that it's only $1,000 and it's guaranteed to give you all these leads. But if you don't know how to follow up with those leads and you spend that $1,000, what happens? Right? So if you have a budget made, is it in your budget to spend that $1,000 or whatever the amount is? So focusing on profit in your business is key. And so over the next several weeks, we're going to break down key pieces of Quantum Leap, key pieces of Profit Camp, and we're going to make sure that you guys are set up for success, because we don't want anyone here going out of business within 5 years. Everybody up for that? Okay. Mind you, this is a mastermind. You can still bring things. We will still ask you either at the beginning or the end if there's something that you bring that for the good of the group would be a good thing to mastermind around, please bring it. If it's a one-off question, we have Ask a Coach for that. Okay. If we have time, of course, you can ask those, but we want to make sure this is focused on the good of the group. Fair enough? Okay. So what I want to start with today, we always talk about your big why. What is your big why? And would it be fair to say that a lot of people have a difficult time really figuring out what their big why is? And because what I hear often is either it's, I don't know, or it's my family, my kids, and that's great. That's part of what plays into it. But if we simply say my family, what does that mean? What is it about the family that's your big why? What is it that you want to do for the family? Right? Just to say our family, we're having a bad day, that's not necessarily going to get us out of bed to do what we need to do, right? We've really got to quantify this. So the conversation that we're going to have today is going to help you do that. Okay, now I'm going to attempt something that I don't know how well it's going to work. But first of all, I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to show you 6 truths about money. So here are 6 truths about money that Quantum Leap talked about. Truth number 1, the key to happiness isn't more money. Happiness is happiness and money's money, right? We all know people that have lots of money that are miserable in their lives. And we all know people that have no money and are very happy in their lives. Money does not make happiness, right? Money is good for the things it can do. And we all need it. It's a fact of life, right? Because it pays the bills. But if we're focused on money, that's not what's going to make us happy. Okay. Truth number 2, whatever your life is about, more money will amplify it. Money won't change you. It will expose you. Okay. Truth 3, lifestyle is style over amount. And style is an art, your personal art of living. You can't buy style with money. You can't buy good taste or good decisions with money. You can only buy more with money. Right? So just because you have more money doesn't mean you're going to make great decisions. Truth 4, the life quest is to have the best life in the time available to us. It's not the amount, it's the value. Money doesn't buy value as it pertains to the best life possible. And that's going to be different for every one of us, right? What's important to me may not be important to you at all. And vice versa. So it's what is valuable to us. Truth 5, money will come to you when you are doing the right things. I'm going to repeat that one. Money will come to you when you're doing the right things. When we sit back and we say, I don't know why I can't get anyone in escrow. I don't know why I can't find any listings. I don't know why I can't do this. How can I regenerate more? What other ways can I regenerate? What's the first question I'm going to ask you? I know many of you know this. What's the first question I'm going to ask you?
Are you doing it consistently?
Okay, that's going to be the second question I'm going to ask you.
Do you have a goal?
Okay. Potentially, depending where the conversation and situation is.
Are you
But if
lead
you're
gen?
gonna, what? Say that again?
Are you doing your lead generation?
Okay, specific to what?
Time blocking.
Are you making calls?
To who?
SOI.
SOI. Are you talking to your SOI? And if the answer is no, you're not doing it right. Period. End of story. So if you are not calling, reaching out, texting, emailing, connecting with your SOI, you're not doing it right, and you're not allowed to ask, how else can I lead generate? What else can I do to get leads? Because that's the first question, and some of you have had this happen. That's the first question I'm going to ask you. And if you're not doing it, the conversation will stop there. And it won't continue until you've committed to do that and are doing it. And why is that? What's the statistical proof around that?
Isn't it 70 or 80% of your business is your SOI?
Yeah, it's growing all the time. We're saying 75%, but it's inching up to closer to 80. 75% of all business comes from SOI one way or another, whether it's friend, family member, a friend or family member of them, a coworker, a past client, a referral from any of the above. Remember, your SOI isn't just your friends and family and the people you're closest to. It's anyone you know who knows who you are. It could be a PTA mom or dad. It could be the checker at the grocery store, the bagger at the grocery store, the barista at the coffee shop, people we don't think about being in our SOI. And if you come to me and want to know how else to get leads, and especially if you're trying to spend money on leads, I'm going to tell you not to. If you're not doing this, that is your entry to true lead generation and building a business. And if you're skipping that step, you're doing it wrong. Okay. Truth number 6, money has its own rules and disciplines. If you don't learn them, you're basically financially illiterate. What did Gene say? Who was on Quantum Leap? He changed the words a little bit. He said, not me. He said, you're basically a financial idiot. He likes that word for some reason. But the point is, he likes to be funny and he wants to make a point. We've got to learn how to use our money and use our money wisely to create the life that we want to have. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to attempt to share the whiteboard here and hope that this will be legible. This isn't something I do very often. Oopsie. Oh, gotta move you guys over here. Hang on a second. Okay, can you see the whiteboard? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a lid conversation. Has anyone had the lid conversation before? Or seen it? If you went to Quantum Leap, you saw this. If you didn't, you may not know what this is. I will tell you that this conversation comes out of the MREI book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to this and hope this works better. Okay, so this is how you can help monetize your why, because there's probably a lot of you that when we ask you about your big why, it may not be financial. Money may not be what drives you, and that's okay. Money doesn't drive me. Now, I need money, right? I need money to live. I need money to fund the life that I want to have with my children as being grown now, with my husband, with traveling, with whatever it is I want to do. But money doesn't drive me, and that I'm just going to go after every dollar and never enjoy my life, right? I want to use it to have the experiences in life that I want to have. And whether money drives us or not, the truth is we need it. we have to eat, that costs money. We have to pay bills, that costs money. So we don't have to be money driven to need money. Okay. So think about the things that drive you. So the L in this conversation stands for lifestyle. Okay. So this is the lifestyle that you currently have and the lifestyle that you want to have in the future. So let's think about what are things that are part of our lifestyle? What are our necessities, right? They're housing, clothing, right? Eating, food. We all need those things. Would you agree? Okay. Beyond that, what are some lifestyle things that we would all need or like to have?
Vacations.
There you go. Vacation. That's a big one. What else?
Hobbies.
Hobbies. Okay. What else?
A car.
Car. Anyone have kids they're supporting? What about kids' college? Anyone concerned about aging parents and want to help them as they get older? What about, do any of you have charitable contributions that are important to you? So whatever it is, and this, whatever these things are, this isn't a sample to get the juices flowing for you. But I want you guys to all take a couple minutes right now, and I want you to write an L down on the paper. And on that L, I want you to finish down here at the bottom. This is not this. Oops. Down here, I want you to finish writing out lifestyle. And then in this area, I want you to write down all the things that you feel are your lifestyle that you want to have now and in the future. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple minutes right now. You can, you're not going to probably figure this whole thing out in our mastermind today, but I want to get those juices started. Okay. Anybody need a couple more minutes? You're good to move on, and you can always finish this. So in a little, we're going to go through the whole thing, and then we're going to put some dollar amounts on these things. Okay. So the I stands for invest. Oops. Okay. This whiteboard thing's not super easy to do with the mouse. Okay. And so when we invest in things, we want to invest where we have a minimum of a 10% ROI, return on investment. Okay. The Millionaire Real Estate Investment book will coach you to have at least 10 investment properties, 10 investments before you retire. Because with that, you should be able to retire with completely passive income. Now, we're not going to go into that discussion today, but I do want to bring it up as this is important to figuring out your big why and monetizing it over time to figure out what you really need to do each year. Because so many times agents say, oh, I just want to make $100,000 a year. I want to close one transaction a month, two a month, but they don't take the time to figure out what impact that has on their life. Is it enough? Is it more than enough? Are you factoring in taxes? Are you factoring in things that need to be factored in? Right? So we don't want to come at this just with, I need this much money to live, so I need this many transactions. We're not figuring out things correctly. We want you to have profit in your business and in your life so that you can have that life by design. So when kids go to college, you can pay for it. So if you have aging parents, you can take care of them. right? And you can do the vacations and the hobbies and the cars and whatever else it is that you want out of life. So then what you would need to do with the investment is, let's say you're going to buy 10 investments at $600,000 over 10 years. You need $60,000 per investment, right? Because we have to put 20% down on the investment. So whatever it is that you want to do, we can do that math later. We can do that when you have the foundation of your business solidified. We can do that math with you in our business planning that we're going to do coming up at the end of the year. And we can talk more about this in future masterminds and such if you want to dig into this deeper. Today, we want to set the stage, okay? Also, if that's something that you really want to do, I'm going to encourage you to read the book, MREI, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, okay? And there's classes KW offers for that as well, including Quantum Leap. Okay, any questions so far? Carlos?
I YouTube the millionaire real estate, and there's a not a podcast, but audio on YouTube.
Yeah,
So
there is.
that's what I'm listening to. That I threw out there.
Awesome.
Somebody likes audio better.
Awesome. Thank you. The cool thing is, I will just make this point about investments. When you put 20% down and you do it properly, according to, making sure everything pencils out for your ROI, then you have other people, tenants and such, that are paying the 80%, right? The mortgage is 100%, right? You put the 20% down, and over time, you've got people paying those mortgages. So you are not paying any more than 20% for all these investments. And there's a whole math configuration to do this so that you buy over 10 years and you pay off over 10 years. So in 20 years, you're debt free with lots of passive income. And you can do that in however many years or numbers or however many you want, but that's the model to follow. Again, that's not today's discussion, but I just wanted to put that out there for you. Okay, now let's go to the D. What do you think the D is?
Debt.
Nope. Debt. Because I know a couple of you know this because you went to Quantum Leap. Okay, the D is debt. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. So the people that went to Quantum Leap, give the rest of the group a minute. And if they don't come up with it, you can answer it. What is the number one debt that we all have, no matter if we think we're debt free or not? Adina?
I think student loans.
Okay, that is debt if you have it, but that isn't the number one debt. What's the number one debt every person has?
Taxes.
Taxes. Okay, so we have IRS, we have state, right? We have our mortgage or mortgages, depending on what's going on. Some people may have student loans, credit cards, personal loans, cars, whatever else, right? So I want you to take a minute with the D, and I want you to list your debt. You don't have to share it with anybody. You don't have to tell anybody what debt you're in. Okay, we're not asking you to do that. But I want you to list the things that you're in debt for. And whether we think, even if we're debt free with everything else, we've all got taxes. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and unshare the screen now. You're going to take the things that you put in your lifestyle and you're going to put a dollar amount on them. Okay. So what is your dollar amount that is your monthly lifestyle, right? So the numbers that you're going to come up with are annual. So some of these things you may not have now, and some of these things you may. For instance, if you're one that is considering or needs to consider aging parents, by the time they're the age that you need to help them, are you putting money away now? So the goal here is to figure out what this lifestyle is going to cost you. Now, it doesn't mean that you need all of this money today or this year, but over time you will. And when we start talking about profit and profitability in more detail, we're going to show you ways that you can do that. Okay. So think about, I want you to put a dollar amount on your lifestyle. Now, what's super eye-opening is, if you put a $300,000 amount annually on your lifestyle and you factor taxes and everything in, you're probably looking at what are we down to? Maybe $150,000, $160,000. And yet people think, oh, I'm making $300,000. I'm making so much money. And you are, and you got some debt to the IRS, right? So we need to factor in the lifestyle amount. You need to factor in your investments. How many homes would you like to have, say, in 10 years? How much are those homes going to cost each? And you need 20% of that as your number. So as an example, if you want 10 homes at $600,000, that's $60,000. Now, guess what, guys? Doesn't mean you have to invest in California. You can invest somewhere else where it's a lot cheaper. So don't think just because some of you live where prices are skyrocketing that that's your only option, right?
Sorry, Jody, just to clarify, you're saying $60,000, you need 20% to put down, so we would need $120,000 at a $600,000 price point.
Oh, yes, you are correct.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify.
I don't know what note I looked at.
Well, I think in Quantum Leap, they were talking about an average of a $300,000 house. You need $60,000 to put 20% down.
No, I mixed up my notes. 10% ROI. So on a $600,000 house, you get $60,000 in ROI. Anyway,
there you go.
I mixed up my notes. Thank you. So anyway, think about investing in places where it's more affordable, because that's going to change that number, right? The key is to have those investments pay for themselves, to have the passive income by the time you want to retire, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. And then your debt, right? So basically the debt is going to be a minimum of 50% of your lifestyle and your investments. So whatever your lifestyle is, whatever your investment is, and if that's, and we're doing this annually, right? So let's just go with the 600,000, that's 120, right? So now we're at 420,000 if we're just using our sample numbers. So our debt is going to be 220,000, or wait, what did I say? 420, 210,000. Does that make sense?
No, I don't understand what you're saying right now. Can you repeat that?
Okay. You add your lifestyle annual amount. And I'm only using a round number. I'm using a sample number. You don't have to make it your number. I'm using it for the math equation. So let's say 300,000. Then let's use 120,000 for investment. That's 420,000. So your debt, you need to figure out half of that, unless you have other debt to add onto it. The reason we say half is because we're thinking taxes. Okay. Taxes, mortgages. If you have other debt, you need to add that on to that. Then when you add all three of those numbers together, that's what we're looking at to base what you need to make annually, how many families you need to help annually in order to get to that profit level. Now your lifestyle could very well be $150,000. I mean, or $50,000, or it depends where you live. It depends on your personal circumstances, right? Not everyone has kids. Not everyone has parents that are aging. There's all different factors in there. But these are all things to take into consideration. Then we can work backwards to figure out how many transactions you need to live a life by design so that you can build profit into your business. And then as you build that profit, we're going to talk about how you should structure your business. Next week, I'm not going to go there today because I don't want to, there's a lot already for you to be thinking about, right? So I'm not going to add that in today, but next week, I want us to talk about how you structure your business to build that profit that's going to help pay for the lifestyle, right? And so let me ask you this. How many of you only have one checking account that you do everything out of? You put your commission checks into it, you write your bills out of it, everything goes in there. How many of you only have one checking account? Okay, we've got at least one of you. Some of you on camera, I can't see. How many have a separate personal and separate business account? Okay, we got some more hands. That's good. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, your assignment today, if you have not yet done this and you only have a personal checking account, by next week, you need to have a business checking account. Okay, you absolutely should not be commingling your funds. Now, are you going to get in trouble for that? No, it's not the kind of commingling that the DRE is talking about when we're talking about trust accounts and stuff. But in order to run your business like a business and from a profit standpoint, you need to have your personal account and your business account separately. All of your commission checks need to be deposited into your business account, never your personal account. And then you're going to pay yourself from your business account. We're going to talk about those details next week, okay? Because I don't want to add confusion to this. This week, I want you to really be thinking about that lifestyle, investments, debt. Figure out what those numbers are and where we need to work to. Now, for some of you, those numbers may be big. Does it mean you're going to get there in year one? Maybe, maybe not. But we're going to get you there. And that's the point of starting this conversation. Okay, because we want you all to have a big life and take care of all of those things. Any questions about that? Comments, thoughts, ahas?
Can I use just also one of my credit cards as a business account?
Well, you can't deposit to that. So
that's true, but
you need, okay, so
business expenses. I mean, I use one of my credit cards just for business related expenses.
Mm-hmm. And you can do that. And we're going to talk next week about that. So business checking, personal checking at a minimum, but you also need to have a business savings account. That's where your taxes are going to go, and a personal savings account. And then there's a couple other accounts that when you really are profit minded that you're going to have open, that's like your life, their savings account. So it's like your life by design account. And every month you're going to put your profit into that. And so that profit is what's going to fund those vacations and colleges and aging parents, etc. Okay, we'll go into detail about that next week. Yes, you can have a personal credit card and a business credit card. You should never purchase on credit, right? That stays there that you're paying interest on. But what a lot of people do, and is a good practice, is to purchase all personal things with one card, all business things with another card, to where you have two cards all the time. and you are paying them off monthly.
That'd be good.
Okay. As long as you're disciplined to do that. So don't go getting a credit card and using a credit card if you're not disciplined to do that. Because the point isn't to, oh, I have all this credit available, I can go spend all this money, and then now you got to put it back, right? The point is, okay, especially like take advantage of the airline credit cards or the Amazon credit card or the something that's going to give you something for using their card, right? So you use it all the time and you get those benefits, but you're also paying it off every month.
Well, the reason I'm using like the business credit, one of my credit cards for business, because I'm getting cashbacks on, like, say, in a gas station. So that's why I rather use that, because I still save more money than using my personal checking account.
And that's fine as long as you're paying it off every month. Yeah. But don't have 15 credit cards because, oh my gosh, this one gives me airlines and this one gives me hotel and this one gives me cash back and this one gives me this, right? That's when we start getting things crazy. And I know a lot of people do that. And sometimes there's a reason for that. Maybe you're a traveler who uses one specific airline and one specific hotel chain and a cashback thing or something. But, you know, again, if you're doing that, use one for business, one for personal, and build up those points for the hotels and the airlines and whatever it is that suits you. There's no right or wrong. It's your individual preferences. Just make sure you're not running up debt. We don't want to add to that debt category that we talked about.
Do you also have a recommendation for like a bank for the business checking account?
No, it's personal preference.
You can use your own bank.
Yeah, I
Doesn't really
happen
matter.
to like the bank that I use. Some people will use different banks, one for business, one for personal. I personally don't feel the need for that. Some people, and I know the gal that Jeannie Osnes, who is amazing, one of the head MAPS coaches who taught Profit Camp, she has one of her main savings accounts in an online savings bank because it takes at least 3 days to get the money. So she has to really think about it. And do I really need this? Do I really need to pull this money out for this? You know, so it's kind of a check and balances for you. But again, we're going to go into more detail about all those things next week. So next week, come prepared to really talk about what we do with our commission checks and how we pay our taxes and how we should be having our finances set up. And now, while there is models for all of this and things you should be doing, I want to preface, and I'll remind you next week, you need to also be talking to your own personal CPAs because we're not going to give tax advice or anything like that. That's between you and your accountant because everybody's circumstance is different. Okay. We talk about models of setting budgets and expenses and all of that up to be profitable. But when it comes to taxes and what you need to set aside for that, that's between you and your accountant. Okay, because what one person, if somebody with no children and somebody with children, it's going to be different. Somebody with certain types of debt or investments, it's going to be different from somebody that doesn't have those. So please don't ask tax questions. And if you must ask because it's on your mind, I will still refer you back to your accountant. Okay. Questions, thoughts, ahas from today?
Well, do you have a good accountant? If you don't talk about taxes, can you refer a good accountant?
I do. I have one in Tulare County that I absolutely love.
Oh, okay.
There are accountants all over though. So ask in your areas for accountant recommendations. I know in is he in Encino or is he in Agoura Hills? I want to say it's Steve Weisman. I'd have to look it up. My aunt had a great accountant down there that she used to use when she was here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Jody.
Welcome.
Thank you, Jody.